Yes.
All right. Well, I think it's time we kick off. Thanks everyone for joining us on the Playtime webinar from the Baptist Kids and Families team. Yvette has been involved in Playtime for years. In fact, it's part of how she came to faith, and she is a real encourager, a powerhouse of love for God. And this is, something that we want to offer for you guys as you try to minister with purpose, I think, out of Playtime and other toddler groups, mainly, music groups and different MOPS groups and stuff like that. And so, let me pray for us as we kick off, and then Yvette will be the mighty leader who leads us through today. God, I want to thank you for every family that we connect with. If you think about what's happening across New South Wales and the ACT, that is thousands of families.
Mm.
Some of them know you, and some of them are still a long way off, but you love them and you see them, and you died for them. So I pray for us as we listen, learn, and contribute today, that it will make a difference for eternity, that we will see possibilities, opportunities, and hope, and we will share that with others. Thanks for Yvette. Pray that you'd help technology and stuff to work well enough that what we need to hear and see, we can hear and see. Bless our time together like you bless us in so many ways. Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
All right, over to Betty.
Thanks heaps, Lou. That's great. Thanks for helping me with the techo and all the other talk and everything. So Louise is awesome. If you don't know her, get to know her. Now, thank you for coming, and it's just actually quite humbling to know that we're all around New South Wales and possibly Victoria, and we're on our little computer screens, and we're just working out how best to minister to our families that don't know about God, and to be all that we can be so that they can come to know God. So thank you for your beautiful hearts to serve and love, because I know playgroup leaders are the best, servant-hearted people. So God bless you. So, but first of all, I'm going to start with a story about why I got a heart to help those who are on the outside. And that's because one time when I first started coming along to the church, to a church I used to attend, the women asked me out and to a lunch after a Bible study, and I was a real newbie, and I had two young children at the time in a one of those double strollers, and they asked me to a restaurant. But then what they did was 20 of them sat on one table, and then 6 sat on another, and then they sat me by myself on a table, and no one came. And I actually felt sick in my stomach. I was looking at the menu, just feeling sick, because I was so lonely and isolated, and my value felt about this much. And in fact, I would have walked out of that restaurant, probably never to come back, but I thought that my double stroller would catch on the legs of the chairs and I'd start crying in front of everyone, and that's something that I just didn't want to do. So I felt awful. I felt miserable, and I just went home and cried. And from then on, I realized, eventually someone did come and talk to me after about 10 minutes, which was nice. But that was amazing, because it was one of the pivotal points in my ministry life of what it feels like to be on the outside. And how then when we started Playgroup, I just went above and beyond to see who was feeling like I felt just a few short months ago. And so I would make every effort to make them feel included and loved and belong in our community. And it's not until you be on the outside, I think, that you realise how bad it feels. And you need that empathy to know and to have the backstory of what other people are maybe going through. And they could be being abused. There could be so many things that are going on, and they're feeling identity as a mother. They're feeling like they can't do it, you know. But we need to know that they may be having a bad day, and that we love them when they come into our rooms, into our playgroup space. Okay, so that's the heart of where I'm coming from, and I'm sure the heart of where you guys are coming from as well, which is awesome. So the first thing I want to talk about is our people. You know, your team is what sets the culture. It's your team that loves the people. It's your team that has you're the front face of the church, so to speak. If you can remember what it would be like when you walk into any facility, any building with the, the reception area, it is so lovely to see a smiling face, isn't it? You know, we don't want, to be greeted with a scowl. Like, you can remember what it was like when you go into AMP, banks, wherever, and you're just treated with disdain. That's just not what, we've got to go above and beyond and be better than that. So that's the first thing, is like, put your most hospitable, welcoming people at your front meeting time. Then, and then when you're looking at your church, I mean, there might be people in your church that haven't even thought about doing playgroup as a ministry, because they might have thought it was a mother's club or something, which is just the furthest thing from the truth. So maybe you could ask those really welcoming, networking people in your church, the smiley ones, the ones that connect and go above and beyond and meet people after hours, those ones. Maybe you could ask them to come in and help the pastoral care within your playgroup. I know Guyme Baps, I just visited that this week, and they have pastoral care people in their playtimes. They've got 5 playtimes, and one of them had a book, a Jesus book to give. Just fell on her heart because she'd shared a nice story, and she had a Jesus book to give to this lady. So and then the lady ended up coming to church, which is awesome. So so have those people come in to your playgroup. It is, you need to explain it to them, and I think word of mouth is better. The personal invite is much better than broad notice in your newsletter. So yeah. Also, what about asking people who do finance in your church, or gardening, or is good at anything, handyman, music? Ask them to come in and do a one-off, and get them to experience your people, your community. That would be awesome. And then when your community mums go out and into the town, they might bump into them. You never know the God connections that happen for that. Also, if they ever did decide to come to church, they already know a handful of people that you've brought into your playgroup, which is awesome too. So there's all sorts of things: craft people, dance people, anything, just the one-off little things, just to get things going. Yeah. What about, and this is a thing too, is sometimes some of us may be starting from scratch, a playgroup, which is great. So you can set your culture right from the get-go. But some of you may be already trying to change and shift a culture. Now that's a little bit different. That's chalk and cheese. That's sort of like, building a new house example, where you've got a fresh foundation, or it could be, the difference between that and renovating an old house, which comes with a few changes and lots of different difficulties. Now that's another story as well, and I'm happy to go into that, but maybe that's more case by case basis. So if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'm happy to talk to you about that. Now, what about if there's some square pegs in some round holes? So they're people in areas that they're probably not in their best gift area. So maybe you might have to speak to them and ask them whether they're feeling satisfied in this area, or is there another area within playgroup that they might be able to be best suited. So my advice is it's better to have that conversation than not have the conversation. because if they're in an area that doesn't suit them, I don't think anyone's going to flourish in that, and we want people to flourish in their gift areas. So yeah, you need to sometimes take that initiative as the leader and have those conversations. But when you have those conversations, obviously you don't just tell them, you know, you ask. You come from a position of, how are you feeling? What's going on for you? What do you think? You know, where can we fit you? So we're getting inside their space and asking for them. We're not putting things onto them. Yep. Also, what is really, look, it's just vital to have young mums in your church that have got the real mission heart to be within your playgroup. Now, some of you people maybe, you guys may be actually running it and you're the young mum. That's fantastic. If you can do it, that's great. You know, kudos to you for doing that. But sometimes it might be someone whose kids have grown up, or who is a grandparent who's actually running the playgroup, but they've got the young mums within there freed up to have the conversations, to build the friendships with the playgroup mums. That's really key and important, because the community mums, you got to think about what they're thinking. They want friends that will last through their other kids, you know, as they grow up. They want to have friends in a community. They want their kids to grow up together. They want to go to the sport together. They want to go to soccer and high school. They want to really know the people so that they can know who their children are hanging out with. That's what they want, okay? What I want, and what I'm sure you guys want, is a forever friend as well. A friend that will last and take them on a journey through to eternity. That's what, you know, they might. So it's really important to have those young mums there who are freed up to do that. Now, I remember one time, it's important it's not just about the hours at playgroup, the 2 hours of playgroup. That's not what it's about. That's just the meeting point and the place. But that time, you find out how they are and who you can connect with. And then afterwards, you go meet them afterwards, or you bring them to your home. You open your home, you open them in your heart. One time I remember a lady came, and I asked her, she's a lovely lady, got on really well with her. I said, why don't you come for a play date at our place? And I thought to myself, how am I going to start this conversation? Because I was early days in this. I don't know what I'm going to do. But anyway, as it turned out, she came and she asked me, tell me about God. Tell me about this God of yours. I want to know. So that's amazing, isn't it? And it's because, I guess, that they're seeing God in everyone. And that's another thing that I wanted to say. Your team, if everyone is shining brightly, God shines brightly. And it's not about just one person sharing and shining. It's about your whole team shining. And then only one person needs to speak about God, really, because it's Jesus said, when 2 or 3 are gathered, there I'll be with you. When you see a team running so well together, they automatically feel the presence of God there, and they know it's God. And that's important. That is so important to have. There's nothing like dysfunction not to find God in that. So also, I know if you've got multicultural playgroups, I know what Epping Baptists do is they bring in the mums, or maybe not even mums, but the same language speaking people, to, like, they've got a big Mandarin culture there. So they bring in, they have them come regularly and talk to those people, the Mandarin speaking people, so they can communicate. So that's really awesome too. If you've got, if you're in a situation where they're not English speaking. So just ask people from your church to come along, connect with them.
Was clapped at the end by a lot of people, and so I was a little bit nervous about how it would be received, but they were very gracious about it. And I figure, really, at the end of the day, if I'm not allowing people to taste how good God is in different ways, it's not much point in doing playtime.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Renee. And I love the way you segued this, the Superman. Oh, there's a Superman Grace. We've got that theme going. Let's do that. That's, wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove. Top marks. Okay, Busy Bees is saying teams are super important. I'm working hard to build our team. We have a mix of young mums, and I'm trying to recruit some mums with older kids, which has been a relief to young mums. That's awesome and really appreciate it. Yeah, that's really good. Excellent. Yeah.
I reckon too, sometimes older mums can play that role of local grandparent when grandparents are far away, or aunties and uncles, to the families in your area. And just think, yes, teams are super important, having a variety of people. The other thing I reckon is sometimes you end up with a whole lot of mums from other churches coming to your group, and I found it really good to say to them, hey, this is why we're running, we're running this so we can meet people and introduce them to Jesus. So if you want to be part of this group, that's what we need you to do as well, to meet them, take them out for coffee, introduce them to Jesus, because I don't care whether they come to my church or your church. In the end, I just want them to find Jesus. And I think, that's an important thing to think through.
Yeah, good work, Lou. Also, there's nothing more discouraging and exclusive when you've got church mums talking about church in your playgroup and then not including the other people. That's just very off-putting. I've seen that done a few times. And all the community mums are really, it's like basically discussing a birthday party and who, they're invited and you're not, right in front of them. It's just, it's bad manners. But that said, and that said, it's okay to talk about God or Jesus or your journey with him, which is a more inclusive thing to talk about. So just be mindful if you've got a whole lot of church mums asking to coming in, and then sometimes this is what might happen, then they all talk to each other about church. This is not what we want to do. And what Louise is saying is great. Yeah. And be on the front foot on that. Just say it up front before they actually do it. And then, then that's a difficult conversation. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to the next point is your attitude. Okay, so really important not to be judgmental with these mums, and they can sniff that. It's you don't even have to say anything. You can actually have to look, and they will sense the disapproval by you. So yeah, really important. There's lots of things that are going on for them. Look, heaven forbid they have abortions and this and that, and you just gotta love them, yeah. So they're coming from a place, you got to remember, they're coming from a place where they're confused, they don't know about God, they don't know anything, and we can't expect them to have the same moral code as us, So we've got to remember that they've got no, I mean, obviously some people do, but, like if they're coming in with a completely different moral code to you, you've just got to love them. Just use the strength that you have in God to love these people and give them a chance to know God and taste and see that he is good. So that's what I would say there. And look, and questions to say, because the first hour we're talking about the culture in the room. Okay, the second hour of this talk will be about evangelism and starting the conversation. But what we're doing is setting up a foundation and a safe environment for them to ask their questions about God, because they've got to know that whatever they say, you're going to love them anyway, so that you'll get what their opinion genuinely is, because that's what we want. We don't want them to say something nice because we're going to feel good. We want them to say what they want to say. For example, when we're having conversations with people, instead of saying you should, you must, oh, you got to watch this show, it's unreal, try to phrase and practice with your speech to say words more in line with a sharing attitude. So it would be, hey, I watched this show called Hinterland. You know, you may like that because I know you like that sort of detective show. Things like that, where you share your passion, and then you may, or you know, so it's a more a facilitating way to speak, and it gets you ready for sharing about Jesus as well. It's not you must follow Jesus. It's, hey, I love Jesus. You know, you might want to try. So it's that sort of attitude that we have with people. Yeah. So practice with the everyday conversations, like, hey, you know, what's the nappies at the moment? Huggies nappies. Oh, you got to try Huggies nappies. No. It's just like, hey, Huggies nappies works for me. Have you tried that? So it's a more conciliatory way of speaking, and practice with the things that aren't God conversation stuff first. And listen to your speech as well and see whether you are really doing that, you know, when you're talking with people. Okay. I love to get to know people. I just want to know all about them. But there's a point where you can ask too probing of questions, you know. Oh, have you only got one child? You know, too much in your face, especially if they're trying to fall pregnant, you know, with another child. So, you know, open-ended questions more about, oh, you know, where are you from? Are you new to the area? Just general questions. And if they want to share about their life, that's great. But not like, oh, are you married? You know, think, oh, how long have you been married for? Or, you know, things like that, like things that can see that they might think, oh, you've got another agenda there, you know. No, you know, so just be mindful of, trying to get to know people, but at the same time, in order to love them. You're knowing them in order to love them. You're not, and listen and hear their heart. You're not trying to judge them and put them in a box. This is not who we are. Yep. Sometimes too, we'd have mums come into the playgroup and they were just really in a bad way for whatever happened, you know, vomiting or whatever it was that was going on for them. And I used to think, well, I can't fix their problem, but I can make them feel loved. And so I used to challenge myself to try and get them to be happier when they left than when they came. That was my goal. And if I'd done that, I got filled up. You know, I was like, yeah, that's good, you know, because they felt loved. And I can't fix their problem because you want to, but you can't. But you can love them, and they can go away feeling lighter. And guess what? They might just feel loved and valued enough to help and to fix their own problem or whatever it was, or journey through their problem because somebody loved them and somebody cares for them, and that's really important. Also, as the leaders, come ready to give, come full. Don't try not to come where you're burdening your stuff onto the other young mums. You know, they don't want to hear that probably. There is a time and a place for that, but it's not that 2 hours. So yes, there is a time for you to unburden and have a space and meet with a mentor or someone like that. But yeah, try to come full. And if for some reason that everything's, you know, you had a flat tire, the kids vomited, your husband lost their job. If that's the case and you just found out, you know, try and then lean on your team and ask someone else on your team, can you carry the load for me today because I am struggling right now? And they will love to step up and help you. So, just share. Yeah. So try to come full, and knowing that these mums are really struggling and even to get to the group. Yeah.
I just remember one time I hadn't done a good job of delegating and working with my team, and they'd all gone to book week for their own kids book week, and it was my kids book week as well, and I just felt I don't know, alone, and I hadn't so I certainly didn't come full. And I just remember thinking I had kept all that to myself and not talked with the team. I just tried to be the super strong leader, and perhaps we could have shared it a bit more. And if I'd had a better attitude and not trying to do it all myself, that would have that seemed strong to do that. It actually wasn't strong. It actually meant that my attitude ended up really in a bad way, I think.
Yeah, but see how already, you know, you went, yeah, shouldn't do that again. I bet you only did it once, you know, like that's the learning curve that we all. Does anyone else want to say anything? No one else is saying anything. Feel free to talk, guys.
We recently had a lady at our church. She is from our church, but she attends playtime as well with young children, and she had quite a severe health concern. And one of our team just took the initiative of taking out some frozen meals out of our church fridge, because we have that available whenever we have somebody with any concerns where we're a bit worried for them, that they just would feel loved. And this lovely team member just grabbed the meals and gave them to her, and she was so thankful for them. It really got her through. Thankfully, she's fine now, but it just made quite a difference. Excuse me. She has 4 children. 2 of them are at primary school and 2 come along to playtime. So it did mean a lot to her, and we would have given that to her whether she was from our church or not. It would have just been something we'd do. So that's something that I don't know whether all churches do that, but I think it's a great idea to have some retired people perhaps who've got the time to make a few extra meals and bring them into church, have them frozen just ready to go for sort of events like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, good point, Renee. I never mentioned that, but yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Really good things to do, cooking meals and having frozen ones there, or even a fresh one. I remember one lady, sometimes I used to just cook double, and then I used to say to God, oh, who am I going to give it to? And I remember one lady, I just dropped it in, and she couldn't believe it, because she's going, I was just thinking, what am I going to have for dinner? And I rocked up with that. And she really thought, wow, I think there's a God out there. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. When you've got energy, or if you can cook for 2 and just be thinking about the other people, you know, in your time, you know, when you're at home, it's awesome. I remember one. Yeah. Anyway, so that's really good. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the culture, and we've touched this a little bit on this with the non-judgmental attitude with our team, but also that's the culture can be through other mothers, the community, or parents coming into your group as well. So we need to be a community that doesn't have a lot of friction, that it's oiled with love. So that if there is a mum that comes in and their child is really upset or whatever, and it's causing a bit of mayhem within the play group, then we're full, and we can go and help that mum and say, are you okay? What's going on for you? I remember one mum, she used to speak really loudly to her children and discipline, like everyone heard that, you know, her disciplining the children, and I didn't know whether to say anything or not, but then I was looking on the other mothers' faces and they're rolling their eyes, and I'm thinking, okay, this is the time as a leader, you've got to step up and say something. So, and I don't want to, like, I'm the non-confrontational type, but, you know, there's times that you have to. And I just went over quietly to her and asked her how she's going, and then said, and give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't know whether you realise that you're actually quite loud when you're speaking to your child. Did you know that? And she didn't know. And I think I might have said, is there a hearing problem or something? Anyway, she was so thankful afterwards, and she was so much better. She just completely a 180 changed and was really good. And I was like, we became good buddies after that, you know, because I really rate people who, if you just say something little like that and you come across, you know, and then they change. It's like, wow, I love those people. Anyway, so that, you know, and she ended up finding God as well. I can't remember whether she was with God already, but anyway, she was more so. So yeah, beautiful lady. And so people might not be aware of, so you may have to speak to some people just privately, just, you know, get alongside them, ask how they're going, what they're doing, and just get to, you know, get a feel for what's going on for them. The thing that makes us stand out from the normal playgroup, a secular playgroup, is that we are unflappable. When people come in and they've got all sorts of dramas going on, that we are just unflappable. Why are we unflappable? Because Hebrews 12 says, let's fix our eyes on Jesus, who for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. He scorned the shame of it, and he sat down on the right hand of God. Now we've got to consider him so that we also don't lose heart. So when mayhem might be happening with your mums or something, if you can maintain that composure and be unflappable, because you know why we're unflappable? Why? Because what's going on down here is just human, and it's temporary, and it's a horizontal thing. But if we can remember Jesus died on the cross for us, and he endured so much pain so that we may live and live with him forever, then we can endure all sorts of stuff going on. We can be unflappable, and we can share the light of God with these women, because we've got that perspective, and we can help shoulder the burden that they have. So, and that is what makes Christian playgroup absolute standout from a secular one where people feel judged or this or that. You know, is that we can come together, we can share a burden with the community mum who's got something going on for them, and we can push through that because we have perspective. We know God, and we know what he has done for us. So that's really, really important. Yeah. But that said, we also need to be discerning. I know sometimes there are some people coming in, and I remember there was one lady who wanted to actually have a fight with one of the other mothers, and also sharing racist comments about different nationalities, and it was just not on. So I had to speak to them. Now, I know I'm saying these things. I mean, I probably maybe 200-300 families had ministered to. I've only had to speak to about 4 to 5 people in that whole time. So I'm not doing it. I just remember them because it was big for me to have to do that. For that lady, I made sure I did that privately again outside of hours and said, hey, you know, can we not do this, please? Yeah. So because also she attended the church, so it didn't look good for us that she wanted to bash someone. All right. So yeah, sometimes you may have to be discerning about this. All righty. So you were saying they share a cultural background. They hang together.
Yeah, integrating those groups. You mentioned that us as a church group not being too cliquey amongst the people attending church, but when do you kind of break up community, like people who are coming in from the community and are forming cliquey groups within the play group, you know, to create a dynamic where they're not excluding other people in the play group?
Yeah, really good point. If anyone else wants something to say, and part of me is like, I'm glad that they've got their own community because they can speak their own language in a spot. If you can imagine, if we were over in Indonesia, say, we want to meet with some English speaking people, which would be awesome too. So, but at the same time, they probably would want to have and network with an Australian culture and get to know people. So sometimes I know what some people do is they change up the seating arrangement. They, you know, if they're sitting at a certain spot, they'll move that whole table, change the room, so that they don't do that. Sometimes people, I tend to look for the dominant, strong person within that group and make friends with them.
Yeah.
And have coffee with them, and hopefully they can speak English. That would be good. Like, but if they can't, then if there's someone in your church community that can come along and speak the same language, like if, yeah. So that's sort of my things that I would do. Has anyone else got any other advice for that?
I think it's do something early if you can. Like you were saying, Betty, like get in early. Particularly when mums groups turn up, I think that's a classic. And so talking to them early on is good, but sometimes it's not until after a while. And then I think your idea of finding the leader of that group is really the person who's a key leader in that group, and talking to them and saying, and just explaining, hey, this space, we're really wanting to help some others connect. I'm wondering if you guys have got such a great connection here. I'm wondering if you could help a couple of other people who are on their own connect, like offer them something to show some leadership in.
Yeah.
Hello, it's Fiona here.
Yeah, Fiona.
Hi, I'm also from Bel Air, along with Renee.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Hi, we also have a couple of mums groups that have joined our Wednesday play group, and we find that if we introduce people, as you said, quite early, if you introduce the mums from within those groups to other mums in the broad play group, and be consistent about doing that, and creating conversations between people, we've seen that those mum groups really, the strong ties do start to break down a little bit. And to the point now that when playgroup finishes, groups of our mums go off to a local park, and it's become quite a mixed group that are doing that. So it's been lovely to see that sort of breakdown between those really strong groups.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's really good. I remember one time we had a lady who came in and just would swear. And we're all like, whoa, what to do with this, you know, in front of the children and everything. So we then also introduced we had a sign up form and said something like, you know, that we will make an effort to befriend people, and, you know, that sort of like, and a sign form that, you know, this is our culture, that we're going to be positive, we're going to be speaking words of life, or whatever it was, you know, so that they're, you know, people just need to be reminded, you know. And I think generally like 99% of people will, if you've said something up straight away, they will go change their mindset and go into another gear.
To this week, like you can do all sorts of things.
Just showing up with an armful of coffees makes all the mums usually light up a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great.
Back in Dapto, we take meals around to newborn babies' families to give to the families, so that when they come home from hospital, they don't have to worry about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, Yvette, you lead on.
Great. Yeah, I'm back again. So sorry, my internet is not going real well. So that's all really good. I wanted to change gears a little bit now. I wanted to show you a video of a playgroup that I visited just recently. It just goes for 2.5 minutes. It's called Church by the Bridge, and it is a little bit different from the way that I've seen a lot of playgroups run, and the way I would have ran playgroup would be just to be open-hearted and have God in the conversations more than in the program. But these guys have got God in the program as well, with their gracious conversations and teamwork, which I really loved. So, and I talked to the team, and they're very gracious, they're beautiful, plus they share about God, and it's and so anyway, I just want to share this with you, and you can have a look.
like a mummy duck puts her wing over a baby duck to keep us safe. God puts his wing over us to keep us safe. We can be safe under God's protection. Now, do you know any songs about ducks?
Ducks like rain, ducks like splishing, splashing in the rain.
5 little ducks went out one day, over the hills and far away.
So we're going to find out how Boaz puts his wing over Ruth to protect her, and how God, Boaz is just like God, who puts his wing over us to protect us and keep us safe. A little bit of his blanket and put it over her, and she was asleep at his feet. Now, isn't that a strange thing to do? And what do you think Boaz is going to do when he wakes up? He woke up and he found Ruth sleeping at his feet. Can you show me a very surprised face? I think that's probably what Boaz was a bit like. Who's that? And Ruth said, it's me, Ruth. Boaz, will you put your garment over me? Will you put your wing over me and protect me? Will you marry me? She's pretty bold, isn't she? Now, what do you think Boaz is going to say? No? Or yes? Dear God, thank you that you love us to take shelter and protection under you. Thank you that you care for us just like Boaz cared for Ruth. In Jesus' name, amen.
I am a trading